All right, it looks like we're live. And we are, according to Google. All right, welcome everybody to the Juju office hours for the week of July 9th. I'm George Castro. The Juju office hours are basically where we have an open session where we go through all the things that's happening in the Juju ecosystem, including core, the charms themselves, neat things we're doing in cloud, the Juju, any kind of awesome thing anyone's announced, things of that nature. So consider us your summary news / podcast of what's going on. So I'm George Castro. I'm on the Juju Ecosystem team at Canonical, and I'm joined by two other charmers here. Corey, why don't you introduce yourself first, and then Marco, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, I'm Corey Johns, and I'm one of the big data charmers.
Awesome.
And I'm Marco Ceppi. I'm a Juju Charmer and leading up the developer experience team.
Chuck, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Charles Butler. I am a Juju Charmer on the new workloads team.
And someone from Core's here. Jay, introduce yourself.
Jay Wren. I work on UI engineering backend.
Sorry, I keep saying you're Core, but you really are Juju
Sorry.
UI. My bad. All right, let's get started. So everyone else, you guys that are just joining the Hangout, we're going to do, we busted out a little template of how we're going to cover things. First, we want to go over all the interesting reviews some of people might have done since our last one. I know we've got some questions about the new Redis charm and things like that. I want to talk a little bit about the new Juju DigitalOcean plugin that Kapil updated. Marco wants to cover benchmarking. Then we'll have Corey cover the big data stuff. Chuck, you can kind of fill us in on containers. And then Marco wants to talk a little bit about the OpenStack charms. And we'll have Ryan probably join us from the OpenStack team again this week in a little bit. So let's get started. Why don't we do reviews first? You guys all did reviews this week. Why don't we go over some of the charms that we reviewed and what major changes I think are available for users. Chuck, you want to go first, or Marco, or Corey?
I'll start the proceedings. Why not? First thing that I reviewed this week was a new Redis charm for Trusty that got promulgated. That came from Jay Wren's team, UI Engineering. Excellent work on that, guys. There's now tests that cover the entire suite. We know we're going to have regressions, and it also does some proper master-slave relationships, which was pretty cool. Running right down through the list.
Wait, quick question on that. The last Redis charm we had, was that on Trusty or was that stuck on Precise?
It was stuck on Precise because it did not have proper tests, and then whenever it went through the stand-up, it was a little wonky, so we chose to hold that one back.
Okay, so in a lot of ways, this is a brand new...
It's a complete rewrite of the charm, which was really nice to see. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No problem. Next up through here was, looks like we've got some of the Apache big data charms that have started to land. We got Hive and Peg that were promulgated today. The next step in that was Apache Zeppelin, which is a big data analysis tool. Kind of cool. You deploy it, you get to interact with your browser, and you can run some queries against your data and run some computations. I think that those are the big noteworthy ones. Oh, I'm sorry, and Apache Spark also landed today too, which is an alternative for running MapReduce as well as streaming jobs.
So in addition to those, we had just like Redis, where that charm was being held behind because of its general quality and lack of maintenance. Thanks again for the people on the Juju UI engineering team. They really took up the effort to get that charm in really great, awesome shape. We also have a new Cassandra charm in Trusty. Again, that was another example of a charm that was being held back, but Stub, who also maintains the Postgres charm and a few others, has written a Cassandra charm that is really awesome. It deploys Cassandra 2.0, 2.1 from the Apache Foundation, and then also deploys the DataStax Enterprise version of Cassandra, version 4.7. So that's now available as a charm. It's super robust and being flexed pretty well, as I understand it.
We also had some charms from IBM that got reviewed. They haven't been promulgated yet, but they're continuing to work on them, including MQ and IB, I think was the other one.
Yeah, IBM IB.
Okay, great. So that covers reviews. Moving on to the next stuff, do we want to talk about new stable releases of Juju Core that have been happening over the past few weeks? Marco, from looking at the list, it looks like just a bunch of point. Well, I don't want to diminish that it's just a bunch of point releases, but why don't we go over some of the stable updates that have been happening in Juju Core itself?
Yeah, no worries at all. We had a couple of point releases come out. I'm trying to remember exactly which ones. I know we had 2 point releases for 124. So we have a 124.2 is the latest released version of Juju available. At the end of last month, we also saw some releases for 120.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Marco?
I think we did. We're going to come back to him. Okay. Ryan's here. We'll go ahead and let Marco probably reboot his machine or whatever unholy thing he needs to do to it. So we'll come back to the summary there of the point releases. Do we want to move on now to a quick update from the Center of Gravity guys? Who wants to go first? Big data, probably, Corey? Or containers? Or OpenStack, Ryan, if you want to tell us what's going on in that world. I'll let you guys fight amongst yourselves. Actually, Chuck, you go first. You're always pumped up about Kubernetes or something.
All right. Honestly, a lot has happened. The new workloads team was recently out to attend DockerCon. We met a lot of interesting people, talked to a lot of amazing projects.
Ooh, actually, yes. Tell us about your trip to DockerCon here for a little while. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you guys talked about. So let's just spend some time there and tell us about your experience, how the show was. Maybe kind of talk about where people are looking as far as orchestration goes.
Okay. It was a lot of interesting stuff going on there. A lot of announcements coming out of Docker itself. For those of you that didn't get to follow along, Docker is now growing a native plugin support, which is big for us because, for example, in our Kubernetes bundle, we've got a software-defined networking overlay using Flannel as right now our reference implementation. And they're growing support for what's called libnetwork, to where your host can now do cross-host networking natively in Docker, which eliminates a couple of components out of this bundle, which makes it a little more compact, a little more succinct, and gives you options for how you want to integrate this, whether you want to use socket plane, weave, and etc. And this is now native, so this is an opportunity for the Docker charm itself to grow and to kind of sprout some new functionality for users, and of course new tests to go along with that to verify that those continue to work. The other thing that we saw was a lot of users were there that were very familiar with the Ubuntu name. Some of them had even been using Juju, which was kind of really cool to see, walking around and talking to people. I'm like, yeah, I've actually checked out the Docker charm. I'm like, I'm the author. How are you doing? Nice to make your acquaintance. Got some cool swag to hand out. Talked with a lot of new people that are going to be coming in. You should start to see some new charms start to surface within the next 2 to 3 months of interesting projects that are interested in Juju. So we're looking at possibly having Crate.io come in. And you'll have to apologize, George. I don't have the list right in front of me. I've actually got that.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I can state that I remember because I talked to them. So let's see what else. The show itself was great. It was 2 days. It was in San Francisco. We were doing kind of like grassroots community engagement. We didn't have an official presence. We were handing out the shirts literally from our backs and our backpacks, and that was kind of a cool conversation starter. So to those of you that got the swag, it was a limited run print. And enjoy the collector's piece.
Yes, we broke the mold when we made those shirts until next year's DockerCon anyway.
Now, regarding the actual workloads that are coming out of our team, right now we're currently working on the CI system for Kubernetes, making sure that we stay integrated with upstream. We've also been working on Consul and Consul template, getting an integration going. We wrote a pretty interesting suite of protoware, which is a pass based on just Docker and ad hoc components that we put together with Juju and stitched it together. I'll be doing an upcoming blog post and demo about that later on, probably within the next 2 weeks. And that's our update for now.
Okay, awesome, great. And for those of you that we saw at DockerCon, it was great to see you, and we'll see you guys there next year, hopefully with more goodness from Chuck's teams coming. Marco, if you're back, is your PC ready to continue the core release, or do you need a few minutes? Because we could have Corey or Ryan fill us in next. You're muted.
I know, I'm trying to unmute myself, but the keyboard shortcut for that is Control-D, which apparently the browser thinks is actually not for me to bookmark. No, my desktop is dead, so I'm on my laptop now. But I'm happy to proceed. I don't know, where did I cut off?
We were talking about the point releases for
We're on the
latest
124
Juju
point
stables.
release, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, so we saw 124.2 release. This is just some bug fixes. No new features have landed. And we also saw a release for an older stable release of Juju 122.5, which brought about some critical bug fixes for people using that release. And that was pretty much it for releases for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I attended the Juju Cross Team meeting with the core guys yesterday, and this is probably going to be the last status where the releases are boring. So really looking forward to 125, and those we should start seeing the betas of those pretty soon. So it should get way unboring here in a minute. So cool. That covers the core update. Unless anyone has any comments on that kind of stuff. With that, let's move on to big data. What do you got for us?
Yeah, we've actually had a lot of our hard work start to come to fruition with, as Chuck mentioned, a lot of our big data charms getting promulgated. That includes the Apache core. So we had Hadoop core had been charmed up and in the store for a while. Now we have the Apache core, and with that we developed a new pluggable architecture that makes it really easy to swap in and out components. So in addition to the core, we got a lot of various different pieces like Hive, Pig, Zeppelin, the stuff that Chuck had mentioned earlier, and it's all really easy to connect up and swap out. Our model is even allowing us to swap, do things like swap the Apache core with the HTTP core, the Hadoop core, sorry, the Hortonworks core, and use the same charms to connect to it, like the Hive and the Pig.
That's really cool, Corey. Does that mean that I can deploy the? Does that mean that I, as a user, can deploy the Hadoop core? And I've already got this out here now, running in the wild. Let's say I've run some MapReduce jobs, and now that I'm ready to move forward, I want to kind of leverage the Apache upstream. So now I can connect the Apache Pig and the Apache Hive to my existing Hortonworks big data stack.
It depends on the particular tool that you're using. If they use the same the APIs in certain ways, in most cases it's true, then yes, you can. We have a plugin charm that kind of encapsulates the libraries and version matching that need to be done. So you'll just pick the appropriate plugin charm for the core that you've got deployed, and that'll hook up and kind of take care of all that, allowing you to use the same interface for the other charms to connect to it.
That's awesome. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
Yeah. So the other aspect of the pattern that we used is that it makes it really easy to develop new cores. So something that Amir kicked out in a very short period was the Cloudera manager. He charmed that up, and now the Cloudera bits can all be deployed and connected up, just like Hortonworks and Apache. So we're starting to see those get finished being polished up and being put into the store. And then we are working on updating the big data landing page on jujucharms.com to really showcase all the awesome stuff that you can do with big data and Juju now. And I believe that's all I had.
Awesome, great. Okay, next up, OpenStack. Ryan, you ready?
Hey, George. So I would argue the boring comment about 124. First off.
Actually, yeah, I agree with that. Do you mind if I interject?
Certainly wasn't boring from the text perspective. Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely,
sorry.
yeah.
I totally meant to call you out on that, George. 124 brought a status feature that we used extensively in the big data charms, and using that with the extended status, and you get essentially, if you watch the Juju status in tabular format as you're deploying the big data charms, you can see the individual components stepping through their setup process and connecting to each other, and you get a real-time view of it connecting together and coming online. It's really fantastic.
Keyword is observability, right?
So
sure. I was also talking
in
about the point release of 124, not 124 as a series, guys.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean,
any opportunity to give you a little bit of static.
124.2 is literally delightfully boring as far as I can tell.
Marco says it is literally the bee's knees.
Yeah.
It is, but we talked a lot about the 1.2.4 release last session. I mean, it is awesome.
Yeah, right. Because every time we have one of these, there's probably 1 or 2 point releases of a Juju one. That's why the last session took us so long, because we covered most of 2.4. But yes, I'd like to go ahead and reiterate that status.
Yeah, so I do have actually a couple of mentionables for anybody that's following the OpenStack charm development. We are, of course, into, I think it's our second, maybe our third interim release cycle. We decided to kind of double up the OpenStack charm release cycle to bring features more quickly to the stable charm sets and to shrink the delta and the weight between receiving those cool new features. And so we've got a feature freeze coming up for the next branches of the OpenStack charms. I believe July 18, right around the corner, is the feature freeze for that, after which we will pretty much be landing bug fixes and such in anticipation of the 1507 OpenStack charm release that I think will be currently targeted for July 30th. So these are things to take note of. There are, if you haven't read the release notes from the 1504 charm release, and I may be able to find those and post a link. But basically, it's wise to go back and look at that. There's one deprecation that comes to mind, which is the renaming of the Quantum Gateway charm finally to Neutron Gateway. Right, and so basically all of the same charm config options are there. Basically, functionally it's the same charm, but the namespace changes. And so after the 1507 release, the Quantum, or rather after the 1504 release, the Quantum Gateway charm will no longer be tested or developed against. So that's something that's important for anybody that's got automation surrounding that Quantum Gateway in a bundle. Basically, you should be able to rename that to just Neutron Gateway, and functionally have not really noticed any difference other than the new features that are being added. There are blueprints out there. I'd be happy to post a link. Here, I'll just paste it in the Juju channel. There's an OpenStack charm blueprint that kind of gives a good roadmap as to what features we're looking to add and which ones are looking to be landed by the 1507 release. Most notably, leader election, which is a good thing for stability of deploying high availability based OpenStack clouds. There's a lot of test additions as well going into this, and then of course we're expanding the deploy from source capabilities. And I don't think all of those will land for 1507, but as we get closer, I think you'll see those blueprints might get a little bit of a bump and an update.
I have a question. Out of curiosity, what's more important for you guys, getting the HA, because I know that was a big feature people are asking for, or are they both from source? I kind of want both.
yeah, cake and eat, right? I want them both, and so. I think another mentionable is the Ice House going EOL upstream, although we, naturally it's part of LTS, so we're going to be supporting that throughout this cool little graphic that I'll post on the channel. You can see basically at any given point in time where you are in that timeline and what we will support as far as Ubuntu plus OpenStack combinations. I would say the HA, to jump back to your question, is definitely a high priority to stabilize that a bit and make it a lot more resilient. I think you'll start to see the Juju status features as you make new deployments. You'll start to see some of those things come around. Mm-hmm. And seems like I had one more thing I wanted to share, but I don't know what it was.
One thing, maybe not for this time, I think we could probably dedicate a whole nother session to it, is I really like the way you guys maintain a separate charm release process that follows another project, but has to be shipped in another project, which is the OS. So I think teaching other charm teams on how they can release at their own schedule, bringing the latest things from upstream in a deliverable, predictable fashion to people is one of the coolest things you guys have figured out. So maybe that might be an awesome subject, I think, for the next for a future, because you guys got like .next, and you've got like whatever your little workflow is for taking those branches, making those we are not, I don't know what you call it. Do you not bless them all and publish, and then you kick off and break things for 2 weeks? Like, I think it would be a fascinating look at that entire process from.
It's fun. It's fun to see the beginning of the cycle and the middle of the cycle, and right now we're in the middle of the cycle, if you will, right? So we're about to come upon a release which happens mid-cycle for the underlying Ubuntu development timeline. And in the past, the OpenStack upstream development process was very much purposefully in tune with the Ubuntu release process. That has changed a little bit. And so, for example, when Vivid released, Kilo didn't release for another 7 to 10 days following our release of Ubuntu Vivid 15.04. So, we had to do some, preemptive SRUs and things like that to make it fly. I anticipate that will become more complex as time goes by, and also as upstream kind of decouples their projects into individual projects, with some of them having their own release schedules. So that's going to get trickier than it has been, I think.
Very interesting. Yeah, so I'll get back to you guys and figure out when we should probably have a dedicated meeting to that. I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't want to put you on the spot right now.
Hey, no problem.
So anything else happening then on the OpenStack front?
Yeah, lots of fun stuff. Marco's deploying crazy clouds in his apartment and doing all kinds of cool stuff.
I know Marco.
I think that's pretty much.
Marco wanted a few minutes to talk about his crazy thing. I don't know if he's got like
down
to one nut or something.
I was just gonna tap dance my way around some of the cool OpenStack stuff, but I am and have been most of the night standing up and tearing down Icehouse, Kilo, and Liberty clouds on 2 Intel NUCs for an experiment I hope to publish soon.
Interesting. Are you doing any of the Nova LXD stuff? Or is that something you want to talk about real quick, Ryan? Are you messing with that?
So we're working on standing up all of the test rigs surrounding that for sure. It's definitely maturing. I don't know what the 1507 deliverables are. There's probably a blueprint. I'm not specifically in tune with each of those.
Yeah, we'll get other Chuck on one of these to discuss Nova LXD, because I think it's very interesting from the I'm trying to pack as many things onto machines as possible perspective.
It's pretty cool.
It's
really cool.
Cool. All right, and with that, let's move on. Marco, benchmarking. You announced benchmarking on the list a few weeks ago. Can you kind of just give us the TLDR? What are we building here? What's going on?
Yeah, so just as another overview again, we're just taking OpenStack. I mean, geez, my mind is. I've stuck in a world of clouds. We're taking Juju charms and we're adding the ability for authors to embed or design ways that you would benchmark, check performance, validation, see and validate if your configurations are really as performant as, say, you'd want them to be. So this is something that works really well with the Juju model. We've discussed this a bit at the last Ubuntu Online Summit. We've done them here on the Hangouts. We do for the office hours. We're releasing a suite of tools next week. Most notably, we're building a benchmark GUI, and what this will do is it'll allow you to, in your environment as you're running benchmarks and deploying them, much like the Juju GUI shows you the model and the environment you're managing, the benchmark GUI will allow you to see, review, and manage the benchmarks that you've executed with Juju in your environment. And then we're also building a platform that will allow you to submit your results for your benchmarks to a centralized database and kind of compare, compete, and see how you stack up against other people running benchmarks for either that workload or other workloads on different clouds, and allow you to kind of see what the ecosystem looks like, or what your workload or other workloads look like, not only in the environment you've chosen, whether it's on any of the public clouds or even some of the other private clouds, but just what people are doing in that space. So pay attention to the list over the next week. Next week we'll be announcing where to get benchmark GUI. It'll be a charm in the store you can deploy, and then we'll be announcing the platform where you can kind of share these benchmarks, and we'll be doing some performance related blogging and research and kind of sharing our results there from a standpoint of just benchmarking and performance.
Yeah, so if you missed this, I'm going to explain it in a little bit simpler terms, Marco, is when Corey was explaining that you could swap out different portions of a big data stack with things that are replacing it, right? Maybe you want to see how moving to Apache Spark benches versus the traditional Hadoop stuff. It will just allow you to build together bundles, bench it, and then publish results, compare with your buddy, and just let the community, figure out what pieces work together and what configurations. There's so many variables that you literally have to have something to keep track of all this stuff. So that should be really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing who can build the best, combination of whatever platform or whatever. And I cached this part instead of this part. These numbers changed, and that should be very interesting. I'm really looking forward to that. Cool. Anything else on benchmarking?
That's about it. I mean, we've been the development experience kind of group has been working really hard, in addition to everything else we're doing, to get a good set of benchmarks out there. They're very easy to write. You can even write benchmarks without having really any knowledge of Juju. We wrote a set of libraries to help really make that process easy, whether you're writing them in straight Bash scripts or Python or other languages. We've been building a set of tools around that to make it a really easy process so we can court the experts. If you know how to check the performance of Cassandra, Tune, and validate what's the big data? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking.
It doesn't matter, right? Whichever vendor is providing that thing.
Right. All of those tools. We make it easy so that you can just write benchmarks and then have Juju deploy those benchmarks for you. So even with a very limited set of knowledge of charming or just a very limited set of scripting, if you know how to run a benchmark on a Linux system, you can write a quote-unquote benchmark charm for that, or contribute a benchmark to embed inside of a charm.
Okay, great. Looking forward to seeing that. Pay attention to the Juju mailing list over the next 2 weeks, and we'll have some awesome stuff from you. All right, that leaves, last and not least, Jay Ren, UI Engineering. You want to tell us what's going on in your team over there in Web UI land?
Did I just get inserted into the agenda?
Yeah, we added you last.
I didn't. I joined to listen, but I can mention we did put out a new release.
Yeah. Just let us know what you're working on. Yeah, it's cool.
We did put out a new release of the Juju GUI. I think earlier time is a blur for me. So yeah, it was the beginning of the week this week. It was a small release, and I don't even remember the specifics. But it's there, and it's awesome.
Okay, well, you go back to hacking it is, whatever it is you're doing. Whit, you've joined us. Any other things? We've pretty much gone through the agenda. Every major group here is giving us a little status report. Checking on IRC. Really, the only question is from Holcomb asking if anyone's running Juju out of TempFS. But I don't know anything about that. Whit, you just joined. Anything to add?
No, sorry I'm late. That's the main thing I have to add.
Oh, it's okay. Chuck covered way better than you could have anyway.
He's much more eloquent than I, so.
Cool. All right, and with that, I'll give it another few seconds for questions. Ryan went ahead and posted a bunch of links in the channel as far as where you can find information on the OpenStack, both blueprints, release notes, and everything. But we are working on revamping those solutions pages so you don't have to go digging around through some wiki to figure out what's going on with those charms. So stay tuned for a lot of web updates in the solutions pages, like if you go to jujucharms.com/OpenStack or /Big Data. We've been working on doing those. And with that, the next Juju office hours is going to be July 30th. That's the end of this month. Same place, same channel. I'll post the updates to the Juju mailing list as that works. Anything else from my panel of experts before we finish? Uh-oh.
I think we're good, George.
That's good, because my browser froze up and I don't even know how to stop the broadcast. So I'm just going to close the tab and hope that YouTube has the archive of this.
Wait. Because you might lose it. You close some more of your Google tabs to regain memory for your Chrome processes.
I don't think
this
that's
happens
happening.
to me all the time.
Yeah. Well, I saw it was broadcasting to YouTube, so I know the stream is out there. So. Okay, I'm just gonna go see what happens, and if not, we'll redo this again at the top of the hour. Just kidding.
Yeah. Nope, this
no,
is it.
no, we should be fine. I mean, Chromecasters scare me all the time, so. All right,
everybody.
See ya.
Take care. Bye.